Hey guys, what's up? It's Adam here, aka Anti-Cena Guy. Here today to do a review on the sequel to this movie, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. If you've not seen my review on Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the first film that came out in the 70s, please check that out. This is the one I want everyone to check out the most. Not just the film itself, but my review on it also. I enjoyed reviewing this movie. All-time classic. I get into the details as to why I love that movie. But to top it all off, the bottom line is, I want to remember Leatherface, I want to remember the Sawyer family, and I want to remember the Texas Chainsaw Massacre purely for this movie, the first one. But we're here to talk about this one right here, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which came in the year of 1986. Okay, I'll start off with how I feel about it right off the bat, and then I'll start listing details about how I generally feel about this film. Right off the bat, I thought this was an unneeded film. Now, I've reviewed this movie in the past. I'm going to hold up my hands now and just say a few things. If you love this movie, that's great. And if you do love this movie, I understand your reasons. Okay? People have got their own reasons for liking certain movies. I'm sure you can give me lists and lists of reasons as to why you like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I respect your reasons. Simply because we're all human. We're all unique. We've all got different opinions on movies. And I respect other people's opinions on their reasons for liking a movie, including the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. But I'm going to say this straight away. I don't think this movie is abysmal, but I don't think it's brilliant either. Alright, I'm somewhere like in the middle of it. I agree with the statement when I say it's an unneeded film. Another reason I'm going to say as to why I'm not particularly a fan of this movie, because I'm a big believer when people say you keep things how you like to remember them. Not just towards a loved one, or a dog in its younger years, or, you know, a certain TV show that was good back in the day but you don't like it now. Well, I'm a big believer in that phrase, right? And I'm also a big believer in the phrase when I say, this is how I like to remember the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from the first movie. The first movie was scary, it was creative, yet so simple. Bits of gore here and there, but it wasn't like too gory. It didn't shove it in your face, didn't rub it in your face. You know, no shit was shoved down your throat with loud music or anything like that. The horror purely came to you. Now, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, I think, did the complete opposite of the first movie. The trouble is these days, comedy's thrown in horror movies. Yeah, there's sexuality, there's nudity, bad language and all that kind of stuff. But when you see a horror, you expect it to be a horror. Now, I can accept that some horror movies have comedy in it, like Freddy Krueger, for example. A horror/comedy villain. You know, there's some bits of comedy that you will find in a Freddy Krueger movie, A Nightmare on Elm Street. But if I could just choose just one horror character that I think would be ruined completely if you made him look like a pussy, a retard, or a fucking comedian to that effect, and that is Leatherface. I think Leatherface should be left alone as a stand-up, horrifying character. There's no need to make him a comedian or something like that. I'm not saying number 2 did that, but if there's any movie that did just that, it was Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 4, The Next Beginning. That film's an ultimate fucking piss take. I might get to that movie, I'm not sure. But in this movie, we see Leatherface in a different light. And plus all the other characters in the Sawyer family as well. The hitchhiker, the old man, the cook. Now, straight up facts about Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. It is a comedy. Horror/comedy. I won't say it takes the fucking piss out of the characters, but it does make you see the characters in a whole new light. They went down a new road with the characters, they went down a new road with the story, and it was a road that I didn't particularly appreciate. Okay? I remember when I first saw this movie, I was so fucking pissed. You know, thinking, what the fuck have they done to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films? You know, why did they even make a sequel? You know, just the ending with Leatherface, played by Gunnar Hansen, throwing his chainsaw around with Sally escaping at the back of the pickup truck. That was great. Great way to end the film. with the ending mystery of what really happened to Leatherface. We'll never know. That's what made it scary. But in this movie, again, new characters, you know. Gunnar Hansen didn't aspire his role as Leatherface in this movie. In fact, it was played by another actor. Let me find his name. Bill Johnson plays Leatherface. And from what I understand, he wasn't even a big fan of horror movies or gore or violence or anything like that. Yet he did this movie. I don't know why Gunnar Hansen didn't inspire his role in this movie. The nearest little bit of information I found was it was just due to money reasons, but we'll never know the real reasons. Jim Sido as the cook inspires his role in this. He's no longer with us, I'm afraid. Caroline Williams stars in this movie as Stretch, the DJ, and she's one of the main actresses in this movie. Basically, what happens, the film takes place in the year of 1986, and it's 13 years after the events of the first film. We get these two weird high school seniors, Buzz and Rick. They're racing along the stretch of this Texas highway, and they contact the DJ, Stretch, through like this radio station. And she's not allowed to hang up the phone until they hang up, basically. But while they're on the telephone conversation, the line goes dead because Leatherface attacks them and basically saws them the fuck up, basically, while the the car's still in operation. Props. I will say this film does have some good advantages, like the fact of the guy's head split in half after being sawed with the chainsaw. Good effects. Give it that. I will go straight off the bat by saying this film, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, did have some good effects. There was a few dibs and dabs of this movie I liked, but the main factor is I just wasn't a big fan of the direction it went, that's all. I want to remember Texas Chainsaw Massacre as a standalone movie. Don't care for the sequels, despite me having a few dibs and dabs and bits and pieces throughout the movie that I did enjoy. And one is the effects. I'll give it due. This had great effects, especially for a 1986 movie. Let's see what else there is. So Leatherface kills these two kids. Stretch at the same time records the telephone conversation, thinking that the murder has been took place. And the following morning, there's this Texas Ranger, and he is the uncle of Sally and Franklin, of the two victims in the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. Franklin, who was the wheelchair and got slaughtered, like sawed up. Sally escaped in the back of the pickup truck, and this lieutenant, it's Texas Ranger, is the uncle of them two people, and he's obsessed with the murder case that took place in the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, and he's been more than determined to find out the real cause of what happened that day. So he's obsessed with Leatherface and things like that. But anyway, the tape gets sent to him. He thinks it's all connected, and obviously he goes to the radio station, blah, blah, blah. One thing leads to another, and then one thing that happens is Leatherface's family arrive at the radio station, and, Stretch is confronted by Chop Top, the hitchhiker from number 1. No, it's not Chop Top. Sorry, I'm doing some research because I can't remember the movie. Usually what I do is I watch these movies and then review them, but I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, I will not watch this movie and then review it. I'll watch the first movie any day all the way through and get through it, but this movie, nah. I think what happened was Leatherface confronted Stretch in the radio station, but he's got a crush on her. So he spares her life because of this crush that he's got on her. I mean, there's a scene where he's holding like the chainsaw by the thighs, not running, of course, trying to make out that he wants to have sex with her or whatever. So Leatherface has gone from this, this deranged killer from number 1 all the way to like a comedy side of him, a horny side of him. And I'm thinking, what the fuck's happened to this Leatherface character? But he spares her life anyway and throws in a few comedy, trying to make as though he's using the chainsaw to, give her a good banging, if that makes sense. But he spares her life. In the meantime, the Dennis Hopper's character, is tracking the Sawyer family down, and this is the next bit of the film that I did like. I like the choice of settings in this movie. I thought the settings in this movie were really good. You know, with the underground tunnels, you know, the Sawyer family hiding out down there. They've got all these bones as decorations. It's like a big maze underground with all these tunnels, you know, with light bulbs on and things like that. Stretch goes down there, encounters Leatherface, but Leatherface spares her life again. You know, Leatherface, you know, it comes to a big what the fuck moment. You know, we cut off Stretch's friend's face, puts it on her face to disguise her, and ends up dancing with her. And I'm like, really? You know, I can understand being funny, but you're going to go to funny to this sort of lengths. So Leatherface is like dancing with her, and you know, the victim of the face whose has been cut off, he comes awake and freaks out and all that kind of shit. Yet Leatherface has so much love towards Stretch, he keeps sparing her life. And she was already used by Dennis Hopper's character, you know, to track down the Sawyer family in this fucking underground lair, like where they're all hiding. But I did like the look of this lair, you know, and it kind of reminded me of Rob Zombie's one of Rob Zombie's films. I can't remember the title of it, but I swear there's one film that he did that looked very similar to this. It could have been The House of a Thousand Corpses. I could be wrong, but I've not seen that movie much either. I just remember one of the settings looked really unique in that movie, and I'm thinking, that looks something like this movie. You know what I mean? But just not as good. And I've got nothing against Rob Zombie, you know, he's a great singer and all that, but when it comes to movie directing and movie making, I think he's a little off. No disrespect to the fans of him out there. You know, I've got nothing against Rob Zombie, just despite him making disastrous movies of the Halloween films, you know what I mean? Please check them out. But, you know, you got this battle with the Sawyer family and Dennis Hopper's character, you know. We find out that the Sawyer family comes to its demise in this. You know, the cook lets off a hand grenade that he finds, and it blows up the underground layer. You know, Leatherface gets his chainsaw through his stomach, you know, with all his guts spilling out. The ending confrontation is Stretch and the hitchhiker, as I like to call him. You know, he falls off the tower, and he falls to his death from the tunnel below. And she finds the chainsaw from this corpse, and she's the one swinging around the chainsaw at the end of the movie, like Leatherface did at the first. So I'm thinking, is she going to be the next killer? You know, what the fuck's the deal? So overall, I'm just going to say about this movie, not a fan of it. Again, it's not a disastrous film. I've seen worse films than this, but I've looked it up, and people think that this is one of the best films in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. People have stated their reasons, saying it was refreshing. Some people have stated that they like the direction that it went in. But again, these are just opinions of other fans and critics, and you don't have to agree with every single opinion and statement that they make. You know, I for one was disappointed to see the Leatherface character turn out the way he did in this movie. I preferred him like more as the serious character that showed no remorse and was scary and everything. Where in this one he had a comedy side, a horny side, and I didn't want to see that side of Leatherface. You know, but it was like comedy after comedy after comedy, and don't get me wrong, it was 10 times more gory than the first movie, but in my opinion, you don't need a lot of fucking gore in a horror movie to make it scary or make it stand out. Yes, this movie had gore in it, but not too much of it. You didn't need it to make it scary. And this movie doesn't focus on the scares, it focuses more on the comedy side of things. And in my opinion, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, Leatherface did the exact same thing, you know. Just went down another road of a thing that I didn't really want to see. It added more scares to the side of it, but I'll get to like that in another film. But where in this movie, I don't know, it was slightly off. You know, but positive facts. I like the settings. You know, I like the effects. You know, there's a few what the fuck moments, like the scene where that guy with the skinless face gets up. You know, seeing Leatherface all horny, you know, and fucking dancing with Stretch. You know, there's some sickening moments, I'll give it that. But overall, he just focused on the main comedy, and I was like, why the fuck are you doing that? It's not the road I want to go down, and it's not exactly a solid Leatherface I would like to see like in a new format. You know, if that makes sense. You know, a lot of people say he didn't Bill didn't do a good job, better job as Gunnar Hansen. you know. But I wasn't, put it this way, I wasn't fucking disappointed with his performance in this movie. I would have preferred to see Gunnar Hansen. But if Gunnar Hansen did turn down this movie role due to how it turned out in the new script, he didn't like it, I would agree with him 100%. But Gunnar Hansen's the guy who I remember for playing Leatherface. Leatherface took part in the first movie, which I want to remember the Leatherface by. The first movie is a good standalone movie. This film was just not exactly needed, in my opinion. You know, Leatherface didn't need to be part of one big franchise to make him who he is today. I reckon he would have just got away with it with everything that he did in the first movie, basically. So before you come on here filming the film video down, I mean, I don't care if you film this video down, you know, because you disagree with my opinions, that's fine. But don't come on here starting bashing me, saying I know nothing about horror films or my opinion don't matter. You know, we're all entitled to our own opinions. I respect yours, you must respect mine. But, you know, I'd like to hear your views. What do you think about this movie, Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Do you thought it was a decent sequel? I'd love to hear your opinions. Please leave them in the comments below about how you felt about this movie. I'd love to hear your opinions, but you would never get me to believe on your level that this was a worthy sequel and it was something that we needed to see to make Leatherface come as big as he is today. You know what I mean? So, this movie will forever be an all-time classic. You know, I wanted this to be a standalone movie. Everything from start to finish, the acting, the directing, the storytelling, the way it went, the atmosphere was absolutely spot on in the first movie. In the second movie, not so much. Not really my cup of tea. You know, and I fear that when I come to review the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, I'll be saying exactly the same things like I just said about the second movie. But at least I toned down on the comedy a little bit in number 3, which I kind of liked. But anyway, that's my review of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, everybody. But I've listed a few rants, but also a few positive things. I will state more opinions about this. I've already mentioned it was made in the year of 1986. The exact release date was August 22nd of 1986. The budget was $4.7 million and made $8 million in the box office in the United States. Yeah, directed by Tobe Cooper. He also did the music as well in this movie. I thought this movie had a pretty unique soundtrack for the 80s. Nothing wrong in that department. I mean, reception-wise, the film was mixed, but mainly positive reviews. People were impressed with how this turned out and in the way it went. But from what I understand, this film was banned in Australia for a certain amount of time. And I was like, really? Fucking banned in Australia? I mean, it's out now, officially out now, but you know, some years ago, I think it was sometime in the 90s or something, this was fucking banned. You know, they probably had the reasons to, but some people go overboard with banning films. I mean, soundtrack-wise, we've got the Cramps Torch song, the Lords of the New Crunch, yeah, singing songs like Mind Rap, Good to Be Bad. You know, I'm not very familiar with these people in real life, but soundtrack-wise, I just remember this movie having a good soundtrack, so there's another good thing I can point out about this movie, the soundtrack. Some of the songs were really catchy, especially the, you know, the ending song. I remember that being quite catchy with some of the films. I mean, the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre film, they didn't really focus on the soundtracks or anything, and the music was like kind of booming, like for the fucking end credits, but it worked. You could tell it was a 70s movie. But straight away, when you listen to these soundtracks, you can tell straight away it was made in the 80s. So that wasn't a good positive factor you could point out about this movie, I suppose. But anyway, everybody, that's my review of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Again, like I've already mentioned, please give me your thoughts. What you thought about this movie. Was this movie really needed to make Leatherface as big as he is today? You know? If you could put some improvements in this movie, what would your improvements be? Do you agree with my terms? You know? If you do, or if you're not, just simply list them down, and hopefully we can get a conversation going, because Texas Chainsaw Massacre is an all-time great movie, and I like to start a conversation about it, a topic or a chat room or anything like that, discussing the ins and outs of this particular franchise. So it doesn't have to be about this movie anyway. It can be about any type of movie that's listed in this franchise, but you'll mainly, you know, see me talking about the first one more than anything. So please like, rate, and comment this, everyone, and email me if you've got any questions. Have a nice day, and I hope you enjoyed this little review. Peace out.